Hello, it's good to have you with us at this hour. I'm Daniel Che. Let's begin with Korea's general elections. Only a few days left to go until the parliamentary elections. The leaders of Korea's three main political parties are making their final attempts to win over voters in the country's major metropolitan areas, including Seoul. Oh Se-young starts us off with their final spurts.
As the weekend before Wednesday's general election draws to a close, the candidates have just a few more chances to swing voters in their favour. The leaders of Korea's three biggest political parties are going all out to campaign in the country's most populous cities, considered key battlegrounds for the upcoming elections on April 13th. Kim Moo-sung, chairman of the ruling Saenuri Party, began his Sunday in the capital, hitting multiple electoral districts in eastern Seoul. In his remarks, Kim said that a vote for his party is a vote for the resumption of major national projects.
Reform policies for the country's development during President Park's term can be completed.
Kim also took aim at the main opposition, the Minju Party of Korea, saying that it's an activist group that exists to disagree for the sake of disagreement. He also hit out at the party's former chairman Moon Jae-in for the Liberal Party's alleged alliance 4 years ago with the now-dissolved pro-North Korea United Progressive Party, which led to the election of a few UPP members to parliament. In the evening, Kim made his way to the southeast city of Ulsan for another campaign event. On the opposition side, the Minju Party interim leader Kim Jong-in began his day in northern Seoul and then worked his way over to the eastern districts in the capital. He also made a swing through major cities in Gyeonggi-do province before returning to eastern Seoul in the evening. The opposition leader blamed the ruling party for the current state of the economy and said his party offers better prospects for the country's citizens.
Change can only come if you vote for the Minju Party, which stands for the people.
Meanwhile, An Chol-soo, founder and co-leader of the minor opposition People's Party, reiterated that support for his party would transform the current two-party system.
There is growing public sentiment that we can no longer sustain this two-party system and that change is needed.
An visited his own electoral district in Nowon-gu, among other spots in Seoul, before moving on to major cities in the northern Gyeonggi-do province. Oh Se-young, Arirang News.
And once the election is over, the Korean government says it will step up efforts to revive the economy. The finance ministry said Sunday the government will announce a string of major policies by the end of the month. These include job creation initiatives targeting young people and women, as well as a plan to add between 2 and 5 duty-free department stores in Seoul. Korea is launching its first ever Dokdo Education Week in an effort to spread the word about the Korea-controlled islets. During the 5-day campaign that starts Monday, the Education Ministry will offer special classes about Dokdo and distribute more than 1.7 million copies of its new Dokdo education book to elementary, middle, and high schools nationwide. The books will also be available on the website of the Education Ministry and the Dokdo Institute of the Northeast Asian History Foundation. To kick things off, Education Minister Lee Jun-sik will visit Yeonil Elementary School in Pohang on Monday. The campaign is the latest response to Japan's continued claims to Korea's easternmost island. Most recently, Tokyo approved a set of updated high school textbooks that claimed Dokdo is Japanese territory. An elderly Korean victim of Japan's wartime sex slavery who lives in China has been flown back to Korea for treatment after she sustained serious injuries in an accident. The 88-year-old Ha Sang-suk, who lives in Wuhan, Hubei province, broke a rib and her pelvis after falling down the stairs during a quarrel with a neighbor in February. She touched down in Korea on Sunday after a 2.5-hour flight and was admitted to Chungang University Hospital in Seoul. After a visit to see her in China, doctors at that hospital decided it was best she receive treatment in Korea for a lung infection she had developed. The Gender Equality Ministry will cover all of the expenses. Ha is the only former sex slave in China who has retained her Korean nationality. When she was 17, during World War II, she was forced to serve in Japanese military brothels in China. She lived in Korea for a few years after recovering her Korean citizenship in 1999, but returned to China because she had no living relatives in her home country. A group of North Koreans working at a restaurant outside their country defected to South Korea on Thursday. It was the first ever such group defection, and Seoul's Unification Ministry believes it may not be the last. Connie Kim has more on what could be the beginning of a new trend in escaping the regime.
There could be more group defections from North Korea, South Korea says, following the defection of 13 North Korean overseas restaurant workers to the south last week. South Korea announced last Friday the group had entered the country on Thursday with a yearning for a free society as they had seen in South Korean media. An official from Seoul's Unification Ministry said Sunday the group defection could have a significant impact within North Korea, considering all of the people were from, quote, good backgrounds, meaning they came from the middle class. One defector reportedly said she had discovered true happiness living abroad and believed this was her last chance to escape. Another was quoted as saying she couldn't see any hope for the North Korean regime with the latest sanctions on Pyongyang and decided to escape to Seoul, which she said does have hope. North Korea operates some 130 restaurants overseas, and they reportedly sent over $10 million back to the North last year. But there is evidence the latest UN sanctions imposed on the North last month are restricting its cash flow on many fronts, including at the restaurants, which South Korea encouraged both its citizens and local residents to avoid. Income from overseas is important for North Korea as it gears up for its Workers' Party Congress next month, the first in 36 years. Ahead of the meeting, the North launched a 70-day campaign directing people around the nation and government agencies to collect money to fund the construction of a new district in the North Korean capital. That's also upped the pressure on North Korean restaurants in foreign countries to send cash to the regime, and the workers are reportedly starting to develop alternative plans for earning more money, including through illegal means. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Turning to the race for the White House, Bernie Sanders added Wyoming to his win column in the Democratic caucus there on Saturday, helping him keep up the momentum ahead of major contests in the coming weeks. The Vermont senator bested his rival Hillary Clinton by 56 to 44%, and each candidate picked up 7 delegates. Sanders now has 1,068 delegates to Clinton's 1,756. Democratic candidates need 2,383 delegates to clinch the nomination. Next up, New York, the first of 6 populous eastern seaboard states with primaries that have a total of 753 delegates to offer. If Sanders wins in the Big Apple, it will deliver a decisive and humiliating blow to his rival, as New York is Clinton's adopted home and she served as senator there for 8 years. The attackers who bombed the Brussels airport and subway station last month had initially planned a second attack on France, but abruptly changed their plans. The Belgian prosecutor's office said in a statement on Sunday the terrorists were surprised by the speed of the ongoing investigations into the Paris attacks that killed 130 people in November. Investigators have found intimate links between the Brussels attack group and the group that carried out the attacks in Paris. The Belgian prosecutor's office also said it had detained 4 men over the weekend and charged them with terrorist murders. Among them was 31-year-old Mohamed Abrini, who admitted to being the man in the hat spotted alongside the 2 suicide bombers who blew themselves up at the Brussels airport. An explosion sparked by fireworks at a Hindu temple in Kerala, India, has killed at least 100 people and injured more than 250 others. According to Kerala police, the explosion occurred at 3:30 a.m. Sunday local time when fireworks stored inside the temple were ignited by another batch of fireworks used for an unauthorized pyrotechnics show. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other Indian officials traveled to Kerala to visit the injured and pray for the victims. Police said the bodies would have to be identified using DNA testing, as many were charred beyond recognition. The fireworks were stored for Hindu New Year festivities on Thursday, but permission for the celebration had been denied due to safety concerns and residents' complaints. Temple administrators and contractors related to the fireworks display are expected to face criminal charges. Virtual reality gadgets are the latest craze in the tech industry, but developers are now facing a new problem: virtual reality-induced motion sickness. Kim Mo-kyun zeroes in on the industry's latest stumbling block.
Virtual reality is a computer technology that replicates a 3-dimensional world and simulates the user's physical presence, allowing the user to interact with the computer system. Recently, tech giants from all over the world are creating better products to provide the best virtual reality experience.
With the development of technology, virtual reality gadgets can now be manufactured at a cheaper cost, thus leading to an abrupt expansion in the industry.
But there is still room for improvement. Nearly two-thirds of participants in a study at the University of Wisconsin-Madison became nauseous while watching motion-intense 3D videos through a VR headset. Motion sickness is a product of mismatched sensory information. A classic example is reading in a car. Many people are unable to read in a car because if you have a book in front of you, your visual system says you're sitting still since the book is not moving, but the car continues to accelerate, which causes the reader to feel nauseous. Experts say right now there is no clear solution to the causal relationship between virtual reality and motion sickness. They advise users to keep track of time when using VR headsets to prevent uncomfortable symptoms. Kim Mo-gyun, Arirang News.
Now for a quick look at the weather before we go. If you're in Korea, dress warm when you step out in the morning, but be prepared to shed some layers as the day progresses. On Monday morning, it will be 6 degrees Celsius in Seoul, 9 for Daejeon, and 10 for Gwangju. The mercury will then rise all the way up to 18 in the capital, 21 in Daejeon, 22 in Gwangju. And now let's check out the weather conditions in your neck of the woods and around the world. We've come to the end of our newscast. As always, thank you for watching. Here's wishing you a smooth transition to a new work week.